Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here with Jason Stoupas of Hustler and we'll be talking all about mini cuts. Making change to body composition in the long term is a game of strategy. Knowing to use the right tool at the right time is super important. And today we're going to be talking about using mini cuts to get the most out of your long-term training and nutrition plan. So what exactly is a mini cut? If we have a look at the table, we can see that mini cuts differ in duration. 2 to 3 weeks if we're trying to lose 1 to 2% of body weight, 4 weeks if we're trying to lose 3% of total body weight, and 5 to 6 weeks if we're trying to lose 4% of body weight. If we've got more than 5% of body weight to lose, then we'll opt for a longer conventional cut. So why exactly do we do mini cuts? In a long-term training plan, there's going to be alternating periods of trying to mass and cut. Sometimes at long durations of a massing phase, we can start to accumulate a bit of unwanted body fat, and that's just what happens when we're trying to put muscle mass on. Some body fat is going to come along for the ride. If we prolong these periods and phases, what we're going to see is more and more fat gain accumulate. So what we need to do is implement cutting phases, and in this case, a mini cut, a short duration cut to bring us back down closer to a lower body fat percentage. So what are some of the reasons that we do mini cuts? If you have a look at Mike Isratel's mini cut manual, which Donnie will put in the description, you'll see it right here and there. In my case, I did it just to look a little bit better before going on for a longer massing phase. For some of the powerlifters that we have in the gym, we use it so we can clear a bit of that fat and try and build some more muscle into their weight class. For those that have gone through more prolonged massing phases, what you can find is that appetite starts to drop off. That, along with the accumulation of fat, the use of a mini cut can really work to increase hunger levels again and sort of just get you ready to get into that next massing phase. With a mini cut, there's a few prerequisites that we need to be aware of before going into a 3 to 6 week aggressive cut like this. The first thing would be having some sort of nutritional awareness and some experience with tracking calories, and also undergoing a deficit and what some of the emotional and physical requirements of that actually are. If you're unaware of what foods to eat, if you're unaware of how to manage your nutrition around training, you're probably going to struggle going into quite an aggressive deficit like this. If you've identified that you struggle with some of these things, then getting a coach is probably going to be your number one priority. I know that I found that having a coach and someone to look over my nutrition when I was going through a mini cut was a really, really solid tool in making sure that I was able to adhere to the plan and actually keep the end goal in mind. So now that we've got the general guidelines out of the way, we're going to talk more about our experiences, or my experience and Jason's experience in the mini cut. If you do have any more questions about mini cuts or just cutting in general, please drop it in the comments below or get in touch with us. Transition.
So myself and Jamie have been coaching each other for a while now, and we decided over the Christmas period that January 4th was going to be day one of our deficit. We were looking to lose about 3% of our body weight, so we opted for the 4-week option.
So I decided to do this mini cut because I just looked to drop some of the excess weight that put on over the Christmas period, and I'm looking to get into a pretty extensive massing phase over the year. So any of that excess body fat just put me in a position to, I guess, be a bit fatter at the end of my massing phase than I wanted to be. So that 4 weeks, just trying to drop that extra 3% body fat, just put me in a good position to put on as much muscle mass as possible without an unnecessary amount of fat gain.
So I'm a powerlifter and I compete in the 77 kilo weight class. I walk around about 77 plus kilos most days. For me to be around 77 kilos, I have to get quite lean, and for me to hit a surplus, I have to dip below 77 kilos. So the reason I chose to do the deficit was to kind of get down to that 75 kilo mark, so I had about 3 kilos of massing to do.
So what we found was more important than absolutely anything was transparency of communication. So letting Jason know how I felt at any point of the cut, letting him know that I was going to go out for dinner on a Saturday night because through the month of January, there's social commitments that are just a reality of it. And I wasn't able to take chicken breast and Bud Light or low carb potato out for dinner. So letting Jason know in advance that I was doing these things allowed us to make the necessary changes to see that we were adherent from day one through to the end of week 4 of this mini cut.
So we understand that slip-ups are part of the process and flexibility is key here. So trying to figure out where we're going out for dinner if we are, trying to look at the menu prior, planning things out, reducing calories days before, reducing calories days after was definitely a key in our success.
And I guess to touch on flexibility is probably another issue in itself, but especially when doing something like this, I think it is definitely more catered to an intermediate or advanced lifter, someone that has had experience with things like this, because although we do push flexibility to adhere to the program a little bit better, there is a big element of sacrifice in trying to improve your body composition to that above average level, or try to make sure that we're eating to perform to an above average level as well. So flexibility is important, but being aware that this is quite difficult and being prepared for that. All right, so that's probably the number one thing I reckon you need to just be aware of as you're coming into a mini cut or a more aggressive deficit like this.
And just to go a little bit deeper into why we recommend that you're an intermediate if you're going to start a deficit like this, is because we prioritize carbohydrates for performance reasons, satiety, and fiber. And so if prioritizing carbohydrates in such a large deficit, that means our fat is going to have to be quite low. So understanding what foods to eat, low fat foods, and high protein foods with low fat as well, can sometimes get tricky, especially if you're getting down to that 40 grams of fat per day and 200 grams of protein per day. If you're choosing the chicken thigh over the chicken breast, you're going to struggle and you're probably going to be sitting on 60 fat.
I guess we should just probably talk about our results as well. I started it was about 94 average. I do think that the week prior, going out for dinner and drinks probably had me sitting a bit more watery. So I don't think it was a true 94.5 kilos. And at the end of the mini cut, I ended up at about 90, low 90s. I had some high 89 weigh-ins as well. And now this wouldn't have been true tissue weight. Okay, it wouldn't have been pure fat tissue. We are definitely aware of that. It would have been water weight dropped off quite a bit, sort of excess glycogen in the muscles as well. They were my results, and I know Jace had some pretty big results as well.
Yeah, so I started at 78.4. There's a shitty photo of me at the beach. I lost all my photos on my phone, so I've got all my progress photos are bloody gone. So there's only that shit photo there. You pop it up a couple more times. Anyway, so that was the week before we started the deficit. And then here's a photo of me after. I was at around 75 kilos average, so I think we were 3.4 kilos down roughly over those 4 weeks.
With this in mind, whether Jace being in a weight class sport and then me just looking to get the absolute most out of a massing period without that unnecessary fat gain, you can probably see by the photos that we are in a good position to, 1, fill out the weight class, and 2, just to spend as much time trying to gain quality muscle over the next year or so. So that's why we've done the mini cut. We didn't need to get needlessly lean and get to a point where we were just absolutely bone shredded, because that would have just seen us probably go to the other end and then rebound a lot harder at the end of this mini cut. So if you want to get more information on mini cuts, we've used Mike Isratel's mini cut manual for the guidelines. If you want a really good, concise book or resource on mini cuts, we found that to be really, really helpful. So in the future, Jason and I are going to be talking about some more nutritional focused topics. If you have any questions about nutrition, drop them in the comments below or get in touch with us. We're going to put Jason's details in the comment box. We're going to put Jason's details. So we're going to put, where was I? We're going to put Jason's details in the description box below.
These motherfuckers are going to put my details in the fucking comments below.
Alright, so if you got any motherfucking questions, drop them in the comments.
Fucking subscribe. Fucking hell.
Subscribe, like.
Alright, go on all your accounts,
comment.
subscribe off all of them.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Happy lifting.
Fucking oath.
That's some of it.
Are they spuds? Or are they just standards?
Charismas.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Food volume.
And boil them first.
Meal prep?
Yeah.
I like it. That's not bad. You do that shit.
Okay, we're good.
Chicken one too?
Alright.
No?